It happened at a hardware store on an ordinary Thursday when I was 76 years old. I was standing at the counter waiting to be helped. A young fellow came in behind me, 35, and the clerk looked straight past my shoulder and said, "Sir, what can I do for you?" Not to me, to him. And I want you to understand something. The clerk was not rude. He did not ignore me on purpose. He genuinely did not see me standing there. That was the day I learned what every man over 70 learns eventually, and almost none of us say aloud. Somewhere after 75, you become invisible in public. You are still standing there. People simply stop registering you. I lived in that invisibility for about a year. Then I found 3 things that brought me back into the room, and I do not mean feeling better about it. I mean people see me again in stores, at counters, in rooms full of strangers. The third one is the one that surprised me most, because it had nothing to do with anything I said. If you are over 65, comment the state you are watching from. I read everyone. Here is the first thing. The first thing I fixed was how I entered a room. And I did not know I was doing it wrong until my grandson showed me. Here is what I became without noticing. Somewhere in my 70s, I had started entering rooms like a man who was sorry to be there. Shoulders rounded, eyes down on the floor ahead of me, walking close to the walls, waiting at counters half a step back from the line, as though I were letting somebody more important go first, before anybody had even asked me to. None of that was a decision, gentlemen. It crept in. A little more each year, the way Russ does. My grandson was 19 at the time, and we were walking into a restaurant. He said, not unkindly, just the way young people say things, "Grandpa, why do you walk like you're sneaking in?" I laughed it off. Then I thought about it for 3 days. Because here is what I finally understood. People do not consciously decide to ignore an old man. They read a signal in about half a second before they think anything at all. And the signal I had been sending was, I am not important here. Do not mind me. I am just passing through. And everyone, every clerk, every waitress, every stranger in every room, was simply believing me. I was the one telling them I was not there. So, I changed 4 things, and I want to give them to you plainly because they cost nothing. I stopped looking at the floor and started looking at faces. I put my shoulders back, not military, just up out of the slump, and yes, some days that costs me something. I stopped hovering half a step back at counters and stood where a customer stands. And when I walked into a room, I paused in the doorway for 1 second, looked around, and then walked in. That 1 second pause, friend. That is the whole trick. A man who pauses in a doorway and looks around is a man who belongs there. A man who scurries through a doorway looking at his shoes is furniture being moved. 2 weeks after I made those 4 changes, the same hardware store, the same counter. Different clerk, but still. He looked at me first. Said, "Afternoon, sir, what are we working on today?" Nothing about me had changed except how I was standing. Now, posture got me seen. But being seen and being heard turned out to be 2 different problems, and the second one took me longer to figure out. The second thing I fixed was my voice, not how loud it was, but how I ended things. Here is what I caught myself doing. I would start a sentence strong and finish it weak. I was wondering if you might have the 3/8 in stock, but if not, it's no trouble, I can just... And then I'd let it trail away into nothing, with a little laugh at the end, and a wave of my hand that meant never mind, forget I asked. Every sentence I spoke in public came with a built-in escape hatch. I was letting people off the hook before they had even had a chance to help me. I noticed it first in the doctor's waiting room. I had been sitting there 50 minutes before my appointment. And when I finally went to the desk, listened to what came out of my mouth. I don't want to be a bother, and I know you're busy, but I was just wondering if it's not too much trouble, whether maybe... The young woman at that desk was not being cruel to me. She simply heard a man who was not really asking for anything. So, she gave me what I had asked for, which was nothing. Contrast that with my friend Stanley. Same age as me. Stanley walks up to a counter and says, "Afternoon. I need a half-inch coupling. Do you carry them?" That is 2 sentences, both finished, no escape hatch, no apology at the front end. And Stanley gets helped every time by everybody. I used to think that was his personality. It is not. It is that his sentences have ends on them. So, I made myself a rule and it felt strange for about a month. Say the thing, then stop talking. Do not fill the silence with apologies. Do not add, "if it's no trouble." Do not laugh at the end to soften it. And this was the hardest part for a man of my generation. Let the other person carry the awkward pause if there is one. I've been waiting 50 minutes. Could you check my appointment? Full stop. No wave of the hand. Gentlemen, the results embarrassed me. The same young woman at that same desk. 3 weeks later, I said the direct version, and she stood up, went in the back, and had me in a room in 4 minutes. She had not disliked me before. She just had not understood that I was asking. We were raised not to be a bother. That training served us well for 50 years. But at 75, I don't want to be a bother, stops sounding polite and starts sounding like static, and people turn out static. But the third thing was different from the first 2. Posture and speech are those about you. The third one is about them, and it is the one that brought me back into the room. Here is the third thing, and I found it by accident in a grocery store on a bad afternoon. I was checking out, feeling every bit of my 76 years, and the girl at the register looked about as tired as I felt. Her name tag said Marisol. And for no reason at all, I was just too worn out to be shy. I said, "Marisol, that is a good name. Long shift." She looked up at me. Really looked. And she said, 12 hours. My second job. We talked for 40 seconds while she scanned my things. Nothing profound. But something happened in those 40 seconds that I had not felt in a store in years. I was a person to somebody, and somebody was a person to me. And here is the part that made me understand the whole problem. I went back to that store the next week, and Marisol saw me from 3 registers away and waved me over to her line. 3 registers away. The invisible man. That is when it finally clicked. Invisibility is not something the world does to us, gentlemen, and I want to be careful here, because I am not blaming you for it. The world absolutely does it. Young people look past old men. That is real and it is not your fault. But there is the second half. Somewhere in our 70s, most of us stop being curious about strangers. We stopped asking. We stop using names. We become quiet, self-contained, polite, and closed people are the easiest people in the world to look past. 2 invisibilities meeting in a checkout line, and neither one seeing the other. So, the third thing became a habit, and it is the only one of the 3 that costs nothing at all. Read the name tag and use the name. Then ask one real question, "How are you?" which is furniture, but something actual. Busy today? Are you the one who orders the tomatoes? Because they've been good lately. How long have you worked here? One name. One question. 10 seconds. Within a few months, I had a network I never planned. The pharmacist knows me by name. 2 waitresses at the diner know I take my coffee black and ask about my grandson. The kid who bags groceries, Anthony, tells me about his baseball. None of these people are my friends, exactly. But every single one of them sees me, and something in a man's spine changes when he walks into places where people know his name. That is the deepest thing I learned in that whole invisible year. At our age, the fastest way to be seen is to see somebody else first. So that is what fixed it. I stopped apologizing with my body, chin up, shoulders back, 1 second in the doorway. I stopped trailing off, say the thing, then stop talking. And I started using names and asking one real question, which turned strangers into 100 small doors that open when I walk in. Now hear me on this part, because I do not want to leave you thinking this is all your fault. The invisibility is real. It is done to men our age, every day, by a world that has decided we are finished. You did not imagine it, and you did not cause it. But you have more say in it than anybody ever tells you. About half of it, in my experience, and half is a great deal when you have been feeling like you had none. I am 80 now. I walked into that hardware store, and 3 people said my name. Not because I am important, because I stood up straight, finished my sentences, and learned theirs. You have earned your peace. You have also earned your place in the room. Go stand in it. If this spoke to you, subscribe, because next I'm telling you about something harder. The 5 things I quietly stopped doing after 75 that made my life better, not smaller. Everyone assumes letting go is a defeat. I will show you why the opposite is true. Take care of yourself. I will see you in the next one.